Welcome to YourEntertainmentTicket.com. I'm Al McGee. Well, the new movie Notorious just came out. The story about Notorious B.I.G, Biggie Smalls. Well, I'm here with Tim Patterson, a.k.a. ButtNaked Tim Dawg. Well, he's a record producer, a great record producer. He worked with Notorious B.I.G and P. Diddy. He's going to tell you a little bit about that. Isn't that right, Tim?
Oh, yeah. Definitely worked with both of them.
Well, tell us a little bit about Notorious.
Well, Notorious Biggie, on the entertainer side and on the personal side, two totally different people. I can tell you from the personal side, Biggie is probably was probably one of the most genuine, authentic, real people I've ever met in my life.
Well, that's what the film showed, that he's a nice, friendly guy. He didn't really mean anyone any harm. He wanted everybody to share and enjoy life. Is that how he was?
Biggie was the type of guy that can come around any set, in any state, around any color of people and fit right in. He was just that teddy bear that was just so lovable. I mean, he was not pretentious. He had no hidden agenda. He was just as real as it came. So yeah, he was the best, man. He was the best.
Now in the studio, I noticed again with the film that he would just come up with rhymes if you came up with the right music, but it took him a few minutes to think about something. Is that how he operated in the studio?
Yeah, normally in the studio, on the artist side of what Biggie was about, the way he would make a record was, he first and foremost, without anything else being done, would have to have him a blunt ready. You understand? Nothing moves without the blunt.
They showed that in the film.
Absolutely. And once the blunt was steamed and once it was toked on and puffed a few times, then the music would come on. And basically Biggie would sit in the back of the studio, just like Alfred Hitchcock, with a pen and pad and just sit there. I mean, he'd hardly ever write anything because he's formulating it all in his mind, you know. And then when it came to the point of him going in the booth, he was ready, and normally he'd knock everything out one, maybe two takes. But the things that came out of his mouth at that time, I mean, his metaphors, his approach to the music, the way he painted the picture as he was speaking. I mean, listening to a Biggie song is almost like watching a movie, if you really listen to it. I mean, his words and his metaphors and the way he'd put his lyrics and rhymes together was like no other at the time. So, you know, it was a good time in hip-hop when Biggie came around.
Yeah, I also in the film, it showed him just developing words about about his feelings or the world around him. Now, did he discuss that sometimes while y'all were in the studio?
Yeah, on the personal side, before we'd record, he, you know, you'd always bullshit around in the studios and tell stories and, you know, crack on one another. But his topics, for instance, I can give you an example. Him and I did a song together called Dreams of Fucking an R&B Bitch, okay, which they call Dreams. And we had no concept for the song. The only thing I had in mind was the music at the time, which was a loop off of James Brown. I can't remember the loop, but it was doom 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 doom.
Is that Down and Out in New York City?
I'm not sure of the title, so don't get me to lying.
Okay.
But that was the loop we used, you know. And right there when I put it on, Puff had called in the studio because he was sick at the time, and he called in, you know, to check up on things, and asked me, you know, what we were working on. So I played him the loop. And he was like, wow, that's hot, that's hot, that's hot. He said, what's he gonna rap about? I said, he's in the booth now trying to get it together. So ultimately, Puffy came up with an idea for the song. He said, damn, you should talk about them R&B bitches, dog. You know?
Yeah.
And so I took it to Biggie, and he was like, yeah, you know, Biggie was real cool about it. Yeah, no doubt. Okay. So he went in the booth, he wrote a little bit, and that became Dreams of Fucking an R&B Bitch, which he pretty much referred to all the, you know, the hot R&B chicks at the time. It was Toni Braxton, Mary J. Blige, the group Total, Patti LaBelle, right. And he put them all into song, and he kind of disrespected them, but in a funny, comical way, you know, and that was just Biggie. He could disrespect you to your face, and you'd love him for it. You know, that was just Biggie, man.
Well, you know, his mother also produced this film, too. Can you tell us a little bit about Mrs. Wallace?
Oh, yeah, Miss Wallace. I didn't have too many run-ins with Miss Wallace, but the few that I did, I could pretty much tell you that she was a very nice but stern Caribbean woman
Right.
who only had her son's best interests at heart. She didn't care about anything else going around except what her son was involved with and how he was involved with it. So just like any other mother, I definitely give her props for what she tried to do with Biggie. Although, you know, Biggie would tell you himself, if he were here, the streets got the best of him.
Right.
You understand? He had a daughter at a young age. Him and the daughter's moms never really got along too well. So, but Biggie's daughter was everything to him. You know, that's all he used to talk about. My daughter, man. I gotta get food for my daughter. I gotta make money for my daughter. So in his mind, selling drugs and doing the illegal things was justified because he needed to get his daughter fed.
Right.
That's life in the street.
Now, were you there a few times when he and little Kim had an argument or were in love with each other?
Yeah, it was kind of hard to avoid not seeing him and Kim argue and, you know, have their little, you know, I used to look at that relationship kind of like a, you know, a love-hate.
Yeah.
You know, where Kim really, really looked up to Biggie in all type of ways. I mean, that was her everything.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Fat, sloppy, sick, broke, poor, whatever. That was her everything.
Wow.
Where I don't want to speak for Biggie, but the way I perceived their relationship was Kim was his Bonnie. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Biggie was her Clyde, you know. She was his ride or die chick. So now if Biggie was thinking about putting a mask on and robbing somebody, if he told her to get down, she would.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
She was just that ride or die chick that would do anything for her man, to the point where at times it would get kind of volatile.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, a.k.a. ButtNaked, Tim Dawg, thank you for these few moments and sharing this with my audience at yourentertainmentticket.com. I hope to see you soon. Any last words?
I just want to say hello to everybody. I've been off the scene for over a decade. And to everybody who's bought my music, one love, peace. My boy Al McGee, yourentertainmentticket.com. We'll see you soon.
Every day.